All right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Multiverse Show, Season 5, Episode 21, the greatest show on Mondays. Back after a brief hiatus here. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. We have a Loctite kind of show for you guys this evening. So first off, if you guys can hear a difference, I am broadcasting through a new microphone. I'm just trying this setup out for a little bit. Invested a little bit over the last few weeks for better audio and better quality streaming for you guys. So we're going to kind of jump into things a little quick. First off, we have my co-host for this evening, Mr. Samuel Tolbert. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, Ivan. We had a lot go down the week, not right before, we took our little break last week, but immediately after. There was actually a fair chunk of news, which is kind of unusual for the last week of June, the first week of July. That's pretty uncommon. Usually this is when things are quiet, but some extenuating circumstances mean we have some juicy stuff to talk about.
Yep,
So,
especially for a rumored PlayStation event coming up. Kind of weird to drop all this news all of a sudden, but hey, here we are. So we're here to parse into that. Yep. So we're going to get started. First off, we have the question that we always ask every single week. What have you been playing? Sam, what you been playing for me?
Oh man, what have I been playing since we last talked? I've been playing Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. If I didn't mention that last time, I can't even remember 2 weeks ago, man. At this point, E3 and Prime Day boiled my brain. Thanks, Jeff Bezos. Thanks, ESA. I platinumed Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Great game. Gorgeous game. Had a few crashes, which is... I don't want to derail too much. That's an increasingly common thing I'm noticing with a lot of PlayStation, like first-party games on PS5. It's not the end of the world because the SSD means you're just back in the game in like 10 to 12 seconds, so it's not, a huge deal like a crash used to be. But it's still something that's happening more than I would like it to, so hopefully Sony can fix some QA bugs on the side there with the operating system. But anyways, the game itself is amazing. I mean, if you like Ratchet & Clank 2016, this is that, but just on steroids. I love it. All the guns, they're so creative, they're inventive, it's colorful, it feels good to play. There's a ton of different environments, and the worlds all look unique, and they throw different kinds of enemies at you to shake things up, and the weapons properly evolve as you're upgrading. It's just a fun game. And it's a game that knows it's a game, but still has solid writing and looks absolutely gorgeous. So please, if you have a PS5, pick up Rift Apart. It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, man, I've been surprised by that game, but yeah, I've noticed that at least the last two games. I hadn't really noticed it with any of the other ones, but I noticed specifically that with Ratchet and with Returnal, there's been a lot of crashing and problems.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is. Maybe that's good why Nexus got picked up. Maybe something there. It'll help out, make sure things are polished. So could be interesting. Who knows? Anyway. Other than that, I have been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just trying to knock out as much as I can so I free up some of this hard drive space. Back on Rainbow Six Siege, doing the new Battle Pass, and just kind of going through, waiting for games to get updated. So actually, speaking of which, I know you went back to it, and I'm playing through it. Metro Exodus, man. Holy crap, that looks good.
I do not say this lightly. I understand art styles are subjective, right? Art styles are going to mean that a game's looks are subjective. Subjectively, I think Metro Exodus Ray Traced is the best looking game on these new consoles.
Oh, clearly.
I think there's an argument to be made. I mean, it's just one of those things where it cannot be put into words. Go watch Digital Foundry's coverage. They have some amazing technical comparisons of just... It's beyond night and day. There are sections of this game that don't look like the previous game at all. They just don't look like it used to. Just the way that 4A Games has talked about transforming their engine and using ray tracing to completely create realistic lighting and how challenging. And it's 60 FPS. That's another thing. This is not a choppy frame rate. It is looking gorgeous while running super smooth.
I think the only thing they mentioned, at least in terms of dropped frames, comes from just different types of instances. Like a PS5, it's more whenever they open up for larger vistas. That's when it will go down. We're talking 1 or 2 frames, by the way, barely noticeable, if at all. It is pretty amazing.
Blips. Yeah, just blips.
Yep. like in Xbox, it's more about like heavy combat. Like you'll start seeing like it'll drop down 1 or 2 frames for like a second, and then it's back up there again. But it's just it's amazing, honestly. Like that game. It's funny, like going from watching the 4K stalker footage from E3 and then watching this. They're really really close.
Yeah, they are. Which, I mean, is not too surprising when you remember that, like, a ton of the people who founded 4A Games used to work on the Stalker franchise. Like, there's a lot of similarities for good reason there.
And, I mean, not just that. I mean, they bring that up in terms of, like, just the graphical fidelity is so good.
Yeah.
I've been quite impressed with that specifically. So,
yep.
Did someone else jump in?
We have a leader.
Who is that? Is that Mr. Fame Entertainment hopping in for a multiverse show?
Could it be? Is it really?
I don't know. It says he's muted. I don't even know.
Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. We'll find out.
I don't know who that guy is.
I don't know who that is. There he is. Long time no see, Mr. Fame Entertainment.
Yeah. And I tell myself every Monday, what are you doing? Like, you got multiverse to do. Get up. And I always just like lay down. But I'm here.
It's because you didn't have to work today, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm off today.
Oh yeah, I was like, wait, yeah, people are off today. I thought that was just my job or something. It's always weird when they have like a 4th of July or some holiday falls on a weekend. It's always weird like that. Like I don't know, like what day do you take off? Do you take a day off? So
yeah. Definitely.
Those days are weird. Anyway, we're just going over what games we've been playing lately. What you been up to, sir?
Oh man, well of course, I think I now have a total of 8 or 9 days in Outriders now. I play a lot of Outriders. I'm addicted to Enoch. I actually just finished up the Gears 5 Hive Busters DLC. I thought I made a big fuss about no one playing the Gears 5 Hive Busters DLC. I actually just finished the last chapter today. But other than that, man, I have a daily mission to save Enoch, and that's an Outriders. That's my daily game.
Cool, man. Hey, at least someone's playing it consistently. So
yeah, it's me and Baron. Like, you know the thing from Hoes when the little girl say, "I'm tired of this, Grandpa." Well, that's too damn bad. That's me pulling Baron over to Enoch every day to save it, every single day.
All right, hey, that's awesome. But we got some stuff we got to cover tonight. We got a couple little things we want to cover. So first off, we kind of hinted at it towards the beginning of the show. Oh wait, I forgot. Because James is not here. We're gonna do our little film corner, brief little bit. Sam, I believe you're taking over this week. What's on the radar here?
Yeah, so I'm not James, and I'm not going to pretend to be James. However, James requested this of me. Yeah, well, I can try. I won't succeed. James wanted me to tell you all that James would like to inform the good listeners that it's coming home. And if you're confused by that, so am I. He didn't give us any other context. I've literally given you word for word what we got there. But he insisted that one of us say that, so I've said it. I have fulfilled my word to James, because I said that was understood. Anyways, quick little film corner here. I wanted to see Werewolves Within, which is the new like horror/comedy, film based on the Ubisoft game, based on the party game. I wanted to see that, but it's a limited theatrical release, and I did not realize until just earlier today that it's actually available on demand video. So that was kind of stupid of me. So I'm gonna hopefully watch that before next show and be able to talk about it. But something I did get a chance to see is called Fear Street 1994. Fame, Anchor, either of you guys get a chance to see this?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I have not.
But I was perusing Netflix, and I'll talk about my little submission in a minute. But I saw the advertisement for it. Looked interesting.
Okay, so
it's and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Kind of. It's very loosely, and I emphasize very loosely here, inspired by the R.L. Stine books of the same name, Fear Street. You know, R.L. Stine, most well known for the Goosebumps series. Fear Street was like, if Goosebumps was for preteens, Fear Street was like for teens, right? That's kind of how it worked. Fear Street was nowhere near as well known. Goosebumps was infinitely more popular. But Fear Street, yeah. So it's very loosely inspired, and the reason I say very loosely is because the plot goes in different directions, and because it is way more graphic. This is not for kids at all, okay? Like, this is a slasher. But here's the interesting part. It's 3 different films, and they all take place in the same couple of towns. You have Shadyside and Sunnyvale. One of them is like the preppy go-getter town. That's Sunnyvale, and Shadyside is, well, you know, it's the place everyone's trying to escape, that no one can ever get out of. You know those towns. We've all seen those towns. Some of us grew up in them. And this town is like haunted by consistent murders. Just a lot of people die here. And it's really, really interesting because each of the 3 films are dropping 1 week apart. So 1994, that film has been available for a couple of days, but I believe on the 9th of July, in 4 days, the next one is going to be in 1976, and it's going further back to tell more of the story. And then the one after that is going back to the 1600s to tell the story of how it all began, and then there's a cohesive narrative being woven throughout all 3 films. And I'm not a big slasher guy. I'm going to tell you that. I like non-slasher horror. This film is fun. It has a bopping soundtrack. I was talking with James about that earlier today. Like, I don't know how much they spent on the soundtrack for this film, but it is amazing. It's great. The lighting is incredible. They got some big names in there like Maya Hawke and a couple of other up-and-comers. It's just, this is a lot of fun. And I'm telling you, that's coming from someone who doesn't like slasher films. So I can't emphasize enough what an endorsement that is.
All right, I like that, the reverse it approach, where it's like, all right, we're gonna go back and just piece it together that way. I'm gonna watch it, man. I'm in. I'm sold. But also, there was another thing that came out over this last little bit too. I want to ask you guys if you saw this one. Have you seen America the Motion Picture?
I have not. No.
You need to watch this, especially you, Fame. You will die laughing. Little bit of backstory. Okay. This is Lord and Miller, and they are making a American history movie. It's already out, but it's also the same guys behind Magic Mike and the series Archer. All of them have teamed up and made this film. I will tell you, the first 6 minutes of the movie, if this doesn't sell you, the rest of the movie, you're going to hate it. There's literally the first 6 minutes. Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock are engaging in a beer pong game to determine the first 3 words of the Declaration of Independence. John Hancock wins and decides on "we the people," tells Thomas Jefferson, well, maybe you can use "rich white people" next time, at least on your Christmas cards. They win. Benedict Arnold shows up and firebombs the entire Independence Hall, killing everyone. Where then he goes and invites Abraham Lincoln and George Washington to a play at Ford Theater. They both show up to the thing. Abraham Lincoln is arguing with John Wilkes Merchant Booth about the price of t-shirts, or as T-blouses as they call them. They establish that George Washington and Abraham Lincoln are friends that have been friends since childhood. They go to watch the show, which is Red, White, and Blue Man Group. Then all of a sudden, you have Benedict Arnold shows up, who's been a part of the Revolution. He shows up. Abraham Lincoln, he tells him he's switched sides. Abraham Lincoln thinks he's gay. Afterwards, Benedict Arnold turns into a werewolf and rips out Abraham Lincoln's throat. That is the first 6 minutes of this movie. Exactly 6 minutes. I watched this whole film and died laughing. They constantly make jokes, and it is just spot on. Like it's a great mixture of in-your-face jokes, but then subtle jokes, and then background jokes. The best thing I can probably equate this to is this might become like the quintessential comedy movie, like akin to like Ghostbusters in the 80s, where it was so perfectly encapsulates that decade of humor. It's really, really good. I strongly encourage you to watch it.
That's a bold statement. I gotta check it out now because you said that.
Yeah, it's only an hour and a half. It's not a long commitment, but it is so tight and well paced. It is excellent. For Lord and Miller, these are the same guys who did Into the Spider-Verse, the Mitchells vs. the Machines that just came out. Like technically, was it technically last year or was it this year? I don't recall. I think it was this year technically. They did the Lego movie. They did a bunch of other stuff. Like, they are excellent. Great watch. Highly endorsed. So, anyway, have a good time with that. Oh, and they got star-studded talent in this film. It's great. They got Killer Mike in there as well. Channing Tatum, Simon Pegg, Andy Samberg, a couple other people. But it's a great watch. Heavily endorsed by me. So, anyway, jumping away from that for a minute. So, other topics we were going to discuss for this evening. First off, all last week, Sony basically just came out swinging. They had game after game, like, was it not game? Not really game. Well, they had a game announcement, really. But most of it was acquisition talk. So we're gonna go through this like piece by piece. First one we heard was that Sony is formally acquiring Housemarque. The deal's been done, everything's been signed, and just kind of quickly, I want to go through the two of you here. What do you guys think? Like, is this a good get, bad get? Where are you kind of feeling on this?
Hey, it's been a minute since you were on here. I want to hear from you.
Personally, there's definitely not a bad get, 100%, right? It's a good get in a sense of PlayStation doesn't have to worry about them possibly ever making games for another platform again. But it's almost like when Microsoft agreed to buy Playground. You were like, okay, cool. You know, they were only making games for Xbox in the first place. What difference does it make besides the fact that maybe you don't have to, if you are a fanatic or if you're a Microsoft, you don't have to worry about the studio possibly making games for another developer or going somewhere else. Their latest project to me seemed like, even though I doubt this is the case, it seemed like this was their test. Hey, can you make something completely different along the lines of what we do at Sony and it be successful with Returnal? And it was. For all the bugs that it had and issues that it had, it was a very successful game. It seemed to go along the lines of what they're looking to do as far as their games library at Sony. It's something completely different from the type of games we're used to from them as far as the rezo guns of the world. So I it's definitely not bad. I want to lean towards just saying, yeah, it's a good purchase, but I don't see them ever. I don't see them at any point in the future making a game for a PC or Xbox anyway. So it's like one of those things where, yeah, like I just could have kept, buying milk from the store, but I decided to go ahead and buy the cow type situation. Great pickup for Sony. Good job for that on that studio. They don't have to worry about if a game fails, the studio fails, they have a safety net with that financial backing from PlayStation. Overall, yeah, man, it's definitely a good move on Housemarque, good move on Sony, and I definitely look to see what this brings for them moving forward. Because I wasn't a fan of Resogun, wasn't really a fan of Returning. I don't know if freaking have a PS5 because they're sold out everywhere. But even looking at Returning for what it is, it's still not my type of game. But definitely kudos to them, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
I think you hit it on a point too. I think specifically that's a thing. The whole concept of like, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? But I know that other people were definitely looking into Housemarque. They had a report that came out, I think, earlier today. But they're saying like Tencent was definitely looking at them. I know Microsoft looked into them. A couple other people did, and my understanding is that they turned down a couple offers to go with Sony specifically. So that's interesting. But Sam, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very, I don't want to say obvious, but I think I would personally argue Playground is a little more flexible in terms of being able to do racing and now RPGs as well with Fable. I think your point stands. Nonetheless, it's a good comparison of this is them acquiring a partner they've worked with for years and years. It's not moving the needle. Console warrior fanboys on either side shouldn't get worked up about it. It just makes sense. You've worked with them for so long. They were successful. Bring them in. Especially if, companies like Tencent and Embracer are sniffing around, and they are sniffing around hard right now. So in a couple of years, if Sony hadn't grabbed them, one of those other two might have. There's a very high chance of that. So it makes sense. It's just it just makes sense. It's just a good thing for them to do, and especially with how much time a lot of the other big guns are going to need, it makes sense for someone who not that Returnal was even a small game, and I know Housemarque is going to expand. They've said they want to expand and they want to make bigger games, but this is going to allow them to have someone else to slot in when, you know, Insomniac needs a break and Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica and Guerrilla Games are still cooling off the cylinders, so to speak. It makes sense.
Yeah. True. I know for me, it's definitely one of those things. Like, I know Fame picked up on this too, where it's like it doesn't really affect anybody because they were pretty much making exclusive games anyway. I think what was it? Like the last game they published was like in 2002 that was on Xbox, so it's not it's not a major loss or anything. Like a couple guys have kind of pointed out, at least PlayStation guys, they were kind of hoping that this was like a major acquisition, and they were saying like, why does this not feel like it is? Because it's kind of not. Like, I mean, they're acquiring them. I think I heard from like Last Stand Media or Colin's Sacred Symbols podcast. The estimated amount is like $50 million or something. It's not like a huge major money, but again, that's more of an estimate.
I mean, that is, I will just say that's an estimate, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone estimating right now, but
True.
A lot of estimates are going to be off because prices have skyrocketed through the roof due to it being a buyer's market. There are people I know, the price was not disclosed for by the way on this, but I know people, like there are people I trust, analysts I trust, who have said that they believe Housemarque might have been more expensive than Insomniac. Now, I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying, like, I would take anyone lowballing it with a grain of salt. It's a seller's market right now.
Yeah.
But Insomniac, though, that's kind of... Insomniac was, what, 229?
229 million, yeah.
And that's probably the biggest, you know...
individual studio acquisition.
Well, I mean, as far as a sale, I mean, Insomniac, look at this generation of work that they've put in.
Oh, that was a steal. That was
an
a
absolute steal.
Yeah, I firmly believe that Insomniac's going to be the new Sony Golden Boys, where it's, hey, we can push out multiple games in a generation, and we don't have to spend all generation working on one game. Like, they don't have to do that. And that's for them, like, I could definitely see them kind of becoming the Jim Ryan favorites, or the Herman Hulse favorites in terms of production level. So that is one thing there. So kind of moving on a little bit, we also had another acquisition announced like almost the next day. Sony is acquiring Nexus. For those of you that don't know anything they produced, you're probably right. They have not made a single game. They've worked on a lot of different games, but they have not been entrusted with a single IP to make for themselves. They are known as a porting studio, more famous for porting games to PC than anything else. But they've done some port work. Like over to console. Like I know they did the porting work for Tomb Raider Definitive Edition.
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I thought they also did the other one too, the Definitive Edition.
They may have done that one. I'm just saying they definitely did the Xbox 360 version of Rise of the Tomb Raider, and they also did support work on the multiplayer for Killzone Shadowfall.
Yeah.
So
they've been working on with them for quite a while. Not a major surprise, at least, and it also, in terms of the overall gaming sphere, doesn't affect really much, but like it's more of a subtle get, because these guys are they probably the gold standard in terms of porting. Like this is all they do.
The way I would describe it, Ivan, is this is very quietly the bigger of the two moves. Because I'm saying out of Housemarque and Nexus, I think quietly Nexus is the more important one, because it gives support work for Sony. They can, they have a developer that internally they can go and say, hey, you don't make games. Naughty Dog needs some help right now. Go help them out. Guerrilla Games needs some help right now. Go help them out. You can do that. They're flexible, but also they're good at PC ports. Gee whiz. It sure is interesting coincidence that Sony's getting more and more into PC, right? And a lot of their developers who aren't Bend are going to need help porting their games to PC. I mostly agree that this isn't taking anything away from anyone else. The only thing I will say, however, this is going to hurt Square Enix big time. Square Enix relied on these guys. They have done the PC version of practically every Square Enix game that wasn't like Final Fantasy XIV in like the last 6, 7, 8 years. Okay, Marvel's Avengers, Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, both Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. They did the PC versions of all that stuff. So I am wondering what Square Enix is going to do without them, because that is not going to go lightly missed. But otherwise, it's very quietly a super smart decision for Sony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe so as well. But yeah, at least again, this is one of those things where it's like, to the fanboy, like the diehard groups, not a major success to them, but it's definitely indicative of where Sony's headspace is. So, I mean, look at it this way. Sony is doing a partnership with Discord. They've been putting games on PC over the last few, months/years. They just bought a studio designed towards porting games to PC. Guys, it's only a matter of time. They're going to be putting PlayStation exclusives on PC day and date. It's going to happen. I think it'll start with multiplayer games, because think of it this way. Sony has picked up EVO, one of the biggest gaming competitions ever, and they now own that competition. I would not be surprised if they try to expand EVO beyond just fighting games in terms of how it's known and all such. Like, for example, whenever Last of Us Factions comes out, they're going to drop that day and date on PC, because no single game survives on the esports scene without being on PC. I think the only game you can maybe point out is Halo, and even then, that didn't last extremely long, at least in the modern day. So, guys, the writing's on the wall here. Just like I said before, I said at the beginning of this generation, you will see day and date games on PlayStation go on PC. They'll start with the multiplayer games. If those succeed, start seeing single player games as well. They may be more apprehensive towards doing that, but they are going to put them on there eventually.
Yeah, I think it's going to start with the multiplayer stuff. They're gonna be hesitant on the single player stuff for a while yet. That's my personal prediction. But like factions, like you said, or if the rumors are true and Guerrilla Games has the first-person shooter as well, and that's going to have a multiplayer mode, like that kind of stuff, yeah, that's going to go to PC day and date.
Yep.
No question.
You got to get them on board. You got to get the PC guys on board, because that is going to be the definitive place to play those games, especially shooters.
Just another thing, there's just flat out another thing. Microsoft has dominated the Steam charts. Dominated.
Oh, it's
with
been crazy.
Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 4. Like, I almost jokingly refer to it as just the additional Xbox charts at this point. Almost, because Sea of Thieves and Forza Horizon 4 and Master Chief Collection are literally always up there. Grounded goes up there pretty frequently. Like, there's just... it's stupid how much success they're seeing on PC. And here's the thing, guys. Herman Holst isn't an idiot. He sees that. He's doing math in his head, and he knows, all right, look, these games are big and expensive that we like to do. A lot of the blockbusters need some extra cash. Like, are they going to be slow? Yes. Are they going to be more gradual than Microsoft was because of their fan base and they're trying not to piss them off? Yes. But they are doing it, to be clear.
Yep, I had this conversation randomly on Twitter a few times, and people just, why do you keep bringing it up? I'm like, bro, because I'm trying to tell y'all it's happening. No, it's not happening. I'm like, all right. At the end of the day, we all know every company, including Sony, cares about one thing: the money, baby. And however they can get more money, they're going to do it, because at the end of the day, if you truly are a PlayStation fan, you're not going to not buy the console because of games on the PC. You're going to buy the console anyway. So let's just be okay with what's going to happen. It's happening, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only a matter of time, guys. And just we've been saying this, but this is how it's been. So, anyway, what was it after that? Oh yeah, we got another announcement.
Got leaked.
A what?
A third got leaked.
Oh yeah,
they're denying it.
Well, yeah, they're denying it now, so I'm now kind of confused. Sam, lead off with this a little quick.
Okay, all right. So for clarity as to what's going on here, when the initial announcement, the first studio acquisition, Housemarque, was announced last week, PlayStation Japan accidentally uploaded an image in the same format, of Housemarque. Welcome to the family, Housemarque, with the, Returnal sliced in on all the PlayStation games. They uploaded one that said, welcome to the family, Bluepoint Games, and it had Demon Souls and Returnal sliced into the background games. They very quickly deleted it, but people have done like reverse Google image search and all that. Like, it was an official image. This is not a fakery. This has been confirmed. PlayStation Japan accidentally uploaded that image. Then, now this is kind of funny because I think it's tongue-in-cheek, Bluepoint Games, who never are on Twitter, to be clear. Like, they're infamous for their Twitter presence being like 4 tweets a year. They're really bad at it. Bluepoint Games has updated their Twitter profile to say, we are a fully independent, self-funded studio. So, my personal prediction on this is just me, is that Sony let the cat out of the bag a little early. They're just finalizing negotiations, but it's happening. And that while that happens, Bluepoint is having some fun. And they're like going a little tongue-in-cheek with their Twitter bio. That's me personally.
I could see it be either way, honestly. So first of all, I want to mention first of all, addressing leaks from Sony. Look, Sony this generation has had a major problem with typos. I say typos with air quotes, and just general problems. Like it's been consistent. It's not been like, oh yeah, once, but like sometimes it'll be the same problem. Like the one I'm referencing specifically is on the Demon Souls trailer. Like they had a whole thing saying, oh yeah, it's coming to other platforms after blank.
Mm-hmm.
And then they update and fix that trailer. But this has happened several times where there have been quote unquote typos, and they've had to walk it back or change it. The issue largely comes from Sony's restructuring. It used to be more as a region market, where different media groups were controlling that within their certain region. Now it's all controlled by one conglomerate. Now they're essentially basing it in the UK now, or not UK, but Europe. So it's all the same group, and so that because of that, and it's not all independently controlled, it's now more subject to error because they're working with multiple accounts at the same time. So these things, I personally think that whenever they make mistakes like that, they're going based off of information they've been told, and they don't know what they're supposed to say and what they're not supposed to say. For example, I think those trailers that they put out, and the wording at the bottom of those images, mentioning other platforms, I think those are real. They just chose to eliminate that so they didn't have to think about it later. That's what I personally believe. I think in this instance, I could see it either way. I could see it as we're being tongue-in-cheek about it, or this was not like a litmus test per se, but maybe maybe they'd be a little cocky, saying, "Oh, we're definitely getting that. We have that everything queued up just as soon as the ink is dry, we dropped that one," and they made a mistake, but the deal wasn't done yet. And so I don't know if Bluepoint would feel a way about that or not. I could see it either way as just being a tongue-in-cheek thing, or this is a mess up, and they're trying to make it abundantly clear, no, we're independent. So I could see it either way on that. Again, this is one of those situations where it doesn't affect really anybody else. It's more Sony finally putting a ring on it. So if that's true, cool. If not, interesting. So
yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So that's kind of my little thing. And we had another announcement on top of that. We had an announcement of Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. First off, I want to say I am so tired already of the term Director's Cut.
I'm with you.
I've told you, Sam, I hate that term for video games because it makes it sound like you cut so much stuff out of it. It's different than movies. It makes it sound like there's a lot of publisher interference, and it creates the wrong impression to me. It started off with the... Go ahead.
I tolerated it for Death Stranding because Kojima is Kojima. So, fine, I get what you're going for. Ghost of Tsushima, this is ridiculous. Like, don't call it that. Come on.
Yeah. So, did you guys play Ghost of Tsushima? I think you did, Sam,
Yes, I got the platinum. Yep.
right? Yeah. Did you, Fame?
No, I haven't played it.
For me, it's on my list of things to get when I get a PS5. Mainly just because it came out at that weird in-between time, like during the summer of last year, where it was like, I can get it now, or it's almost inevitably going to get a enhanced edition or something later, so I might as well wait. I was kind of like, I was in that position, so I figured
I've purposely been ignoring PlayStation games because I don't have a PS5 and I refuse to play them on my PS4.
Yeah, fair enough. So, like, it's also, this is such a weird thing, isn't it? I know we mentioned this before, like, isn't it weird that PlayStation doesn't have any announced PS5 exclusives at all, and then they announce one, and then it's also a PS5, well, a PS4, PS5 exclusive. It's also cross-gen. It's just...
Yeah, it's
weird.
not. I don't want to harp on it too much, but because we've talked about it before on the show, but I do agree with you that, like, for all that talk about generations, for all that talk about who was doing cross-gen and who wasn't, there is no PS5 only first party, because there are third party, first party games announced right now. Everything is cross-gen. I'm sure that's going to change in the near future, but it's funny.
I guess you can technically say, if you want to be technical, say Returnal is now a first party, but I get what you're saying.
Was that announced? Coming up, like, we don't know anything else that's coming up yet.
Yeah.
So that is the concern. It's more just like, all right, what do we got next that's definitely coming out for only PS5? Like, what do we have? Like, really, the only game we had before was Ratchet and Clank. Because now Godfall's coming to PS4. It's just sad. Whatever. So for me, I'm just kind of, I'm apprehensive towards it because I feel like this would have been like a, hey, drop that DLC on PS5 or on PS4 as an option, and then just sell the complete the director's cut on PS5 only. But no, they're not doing that. They're selling the director's cut on PS4 and also on PS5, and like they. Man, say what you will, but at least smart delivery makes sense. I don't have to worry about, like, what do I gotta pay? Like, on the rare occasion, all you gotta pay is $10 and you get the upgraded version of any game. At least at the worst. Most of the time, most of the stuff, at least on Xbox, already gets updated for free. You don't have to worry about which one you have. But, like, I was confused the first time I read through what do you have to do for Ghost of Tsushima. It's like, okay, you pay $20 or $30 to upgrade to the director's cut on PS4, then pay $10 to get it on PS5.
Yeah,
or like pay $40 to get the PS4 to get the PS5 director's cut for the base PS4. It's more confusing than it needs to be.
I think the thing that makes it worse, right, Ivan, is not even the price itself; it's the way it's been implemented. Right, it's the confusing setup of how you're going about laying this about, and you didn't need to. You didn't need to do it this way. Just sell the expansion separately. That's it. That's all you had to do. That's my thing, and it's kind of irritating because I'm looking forward to the expansion. I liked Ghost of Tsushima. I'm really looking forward to, because they keep using the words expansion. They hammer that home in the blog post and the trailer, so I'm taking them at their word. I assume this is not a small DLC. I assume this is a proper expansion. So that's really cool if that's the case. But I want to see more games do that. But at the same time, like, y'all, you didn't need to go about it this way.
And then also, some features don't make any sense why this is included. So, like, my understanding, so the game is done in English. And the base game is done in English. The lip syncing is designed for English. But if you switch to Japanese, there is no lip syncing for the Japanese version. But now they're going to sell you the lip syncing to the Japanese version in this one.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. And the frustrating thing as well is that charging for this doesn't make any sense because they updated the game to run at 60 frames per second for free on the PS5.
They took away reasons to buy it.
They gave away the Legends multiplayer mode for free If I had the option of, I mean, I know there's the DualSense, and like, don't get me wrong, Japanese lip sync is cool, but DualSense usage and Japanese lip sync, because that's really what it is, that could have been a free upgrade, right? Like I'm not trying to whine, but it could have been. Just make that the free upgrade, and then
say it's $30 for the new expansion. Say it's $30 for the new expansion. You get the same money, and it's not that confusing.
Again, it's not the price that is the issue. It's how it's been laid out here. I have no issues paying the price for the expansion. I'm going to buy it, but you didn't need to lay it out this way.
Yeah. I don't know. They have a. Well, I think at this point it's safe to say PlayStation has a clear marketing problem in terms of how they talk to people, how they've been dropping information, and being clear about it. And I don't think it's a problem in terms of like who is speaking. It's just what do they have to say. Like, because even if you did this as a presentation, it would have been confusing anyway. Like it would have been like, wait, what? I have to buy it. And then also, like, on top of that too, they took off the PlayStation 4 version, so you can't even buy that version of the game anymore. Like, you can't unless you buy it physically, I guess. But like,
yeah, I mean, there's still physical copies, but digitally, yes, yeah. They've
you can't buy the original, so you can't buy a discounted version of the game. You're gonna buy the newest one, and that's it. So it's so weird to me, and I don't understand why they're doing it like this. Well, I mean, I understand on a basic level, money, but I don't understand why they thought this was the best way to go about it. So. Anyway,
is there a confirmation what all comes with this?
They did have that in the blog post. I will pull it up for you.
I can pull it up. I have it right now.
Please tell me.
So give me 1 second. It was literally like I had an article on it. It was literally right in front of me. So the PS4 director's cut. I'll go over the things that everyone gets. The PS4 director's cut gets the expansion. You get director commentary. I presume that's the creative director. Talking about the game throughout different points, a bonus technique point, the Hero of Tsushima skin set, and a digital mini art book. That's what you get on both versions, including the PS4 version. PS5 only is reduced load times, which I will say, by the way, Ghost of Tsushima already had absurdly low load times on the base PS4. On a base PS4, it was like 5 or 6 seconds, so that's admittedly impressive if they've got it even lower than that to nothing. 3D audio, DualSense haptic feedback and adaptive trigger support, 4K 60, and Japanese lip sync. Those are PS5 only.
Yeah. No, it sounds kind of weak to me, personally.
I about to say for me, I don't know if it sounds worth it or not. But hey, 2 weeks are on, right?
Yep.
Yep. So, hey, that's the beauty of your own pocket. You get to determine what you do with it. So, go have fun. So, what else is there? We had there's some other announcements that happened on this. Oh, I'm thinking of something. I can't remember what it was though.
Kojima?
Oh, well, no, not even Kojima. Yeah, I'm still thinking Sony. Right
Dead
now.
Space.
Yeah. I mean, rumor. No, I think I was thinking more about the indie dev situation. I just remember that a while ago.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of want to briefly bring this up because it's more one of those things that kind of started. There was a developer who went off on Twitter saying, I don't care about burning any bridges, and just started kind of let everybody have it. And he kept referring to Platform X. People initially thought they were talking about Xbox, but he said this is a platform that doesn't have Game Pass. So, yeah. My understanding is it's not Nintendo, so it kind of leaves Sony. Let's talk about Ouya. But they kind of went off on a couple different things, specifically how Sony is treating indie developers this generation, which is different than last generation. I'm not going to get into a lot of the details. The big one everyone kind of focused on was that they were basically charging indie developers about $25,000 to get featured on the PlayStation Store, which is a good chunk of money if you're an indie dev. I'd say that much. So it was kind of one of those things where if you wanted to get any exposure on the store, you had to basically fork up some money. and it's more of a. I don't think this is wrong per se, at least to me. I think it's more of a. This is what happens when you have a market leader and everyone's trying to put all their stuff on there. There's only certain ways you could give people attention, and it involves paying money. So I understand it, but I think it does create a barrier of entry for people, at least in terms of getting that exposure necessary to sell their game. Where it's the games that was the publishers that can afford to pay that price will pay that price and dominate the store as a result. And indie devs don't really get that shine anymore. But I kind of wanted to ask you guys about this because it started this whole conversation about indie developers and how they are presented on multiple platforms. I just kind of want to get your impressions on this. I want to start with you, Fame, in particular. I know you saw this one. What do you think about this?
I don't know, and I kind of felt this way with the whole Apple and Epic thing when it first came out. I don't know how to feel about how much someone charges to be front and center on their platform. Like, who am I to say you can't charge X amount for what's being put on your platform? That's why I understand if the competition is doing something at a much lower price, okay. But I can't really be upset saying, oh man, I can't believe they're charging this much for them to be marketed heavily on their platform. I can't be mad at that. And I'm like, I don't really see the outrage as a consumer. I don't feel any type of outrage or, oh my God, here's bad Sony. I feel like if we knew what Nintendo and Xbox were charging, we'll maybe have a better idea on whether or not this is truly a bad thing. But I don't know, man. I just can't see myself being upset that Sony is charging whatever they're charging. At the end of the day, it's their platform. Sort of how I felt about the whole Apple thing. Like, it's their platform. Like, you're using their platform. Like, they should get a cut. How much of a cut? It ain't for me to say. Let's look at what the competition doing. What the competition is doing. If the competition has that much better of a deal, then don't spend your money on PlayStation. Spend it at Nintendo. Spend it at Microsoft. That's just me.
Yeah, I understand that. Sam, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, here's the thing. So I want to be frank. I've tried looking into this. I'm not the best suited for this. I think other people have done great reporting on this. I think Eurogamer rounded up some complaints. Rebecca Valentine at IGN rounded up a ton. She spoke with some indie developers. Push Square, I know, spoke to a lot of indie developers about this. So the nutshell version I'll try and give is, I think people are missing the forest for the trees. The charging, I agree with Fame. Charging for the advertising, that's how the world works. That's capitalism. I don't think that's the issue. The issue to me seems to be that there's just a general inconsistency and lack of communication if you're an indie developer trying to get on PlayStation. That's the bigger problem. The bigger problem is that there aren't clear protocols and clear systems and clear people to talk to like there are on Nintendo or on Xbox or like itch.io, stuff like that, the really indie friendly platforms that have been getting a lot of praise. None of those systems seem to be in place. It seems to be you're spinning a roulette wheel, and maybe you get super lucky and you get the helpful person, but maybe more likely you don't. That's the real issue. And I don't know what the solution to that is, unfortunately, except, hey, Sony, fix it. You got Shuhei Yoshida in charge of indies. Have him take a look at all this.
Yeah. So I hope it leads somewhere positive in the future. So I'd hope so, at least that much. So let's get into some other news that we had specifically. So we've been hearing this for a while. There has been a rumor about Kojima doing a deal with Xbox. We heard, I believe, from Jeff Grubb over at VentureBeat that they have a letter of intent from Kojima to work with Xbox specifically. There's rumors in terms of how that is going to manifest, in terms of what kind of game this is, but I don't believe we got official confirmation, at least from any of the two parties involved. I don't believe so, Sam, right? I don't
But we have not. But we have not. It is important to note, however, that neither of them have shut anything down either, which doesn't mean anything, but it doesn't not mean anything either. However, here's the main piece. This is the main reason that we, not just the fact that Jeff Grubb has proven pretty trustworthy and pretty reliable with what his actual written reports have been, but also the fact that Microsoft did announce recently, this was while we were on hiatus, that they are hiring Kim Swift to lead a new team at Xbox Game Studios Publishing. Publishing, in case anyone doesn't know, is kind of like XDev for Sony. It's the same thing over at Microsoft, where it's a series of teams, like some teams of engineers and artists and producers who work with other developers to make games, to oversee the projects. Yeah. Kim Swift, if anyone doesn't know, quite a bit of level design, quite a bit of game design to her pedigree. She was one of the lead designers on a couple of tiny games called Portal and Left 4 Dead back at Valve.
What? Never heard of those.
Yeah. Not two of the most influential games of all time in terms of game design. So she's smart. She knows what she's doing. And frankly, and this is my conspiracy brain at work, she's the kind of person who can wrangle Kojima. Mm-hmm. She's the kind of person who can drag him back down into reality and say, nuh-uh, no, chief, we're not doing that. Let's get back to work here. Seems to be that she was hired specifically, this is official here, this is not me speculating, to lead a team that will work on games designed around the cloud, designed around using xCloud and its technologies. Kojima, according to Jeff Grubb's report, wants to make a game using cloud tech. It doesn't take a brain to see where this is going. It doesn't. It's pretty darn obvious. Yeah. And seems like it's going to happen. I don't want to speculate too much other than that, but cool.
Is it Silent Hills? Is it Silent Hill?
Oh my God! Don't start, Anchor.
No, it's not. It's not.
Fair. Whatever. Anyway, I think that's a pretty cool get. Again, like, it's one of those things where Kojima's support of Xbox is kind of fickle. Like, was it Metal Gear Solid 3, I want to say, or 2? And then not 4, then 5, then not Death Stranding. So it's fickle. And to see them lock down a supposed exclusive deal would be interesting.
Money talks.
Yeah, money talks.
Even if it's not, at the end of the day, not a said quote-unquote exclusive, or if it's timed, whatever the case may be, even though I think it will be. At this point, I'm starting to feel like day one of Game Pass is a bigger deal to me from third-party wise than exclusivity as a consumer.
I mostly agree with you. I mostly agree. Like, but I'll say this: if it's a publishing deal, it's going to be exclusive.
Yeah.
It is, of course. But I agree with you, Fame. Like, there's a reason you will not see Microsoft do timed exclusive third-party deals again. Like Rise of the Tomb Raider, that kind of deal is never going to happen again. Yeah, they're doing day one Game Pass.
Day one Game Pass. That's the
key. If there's a time deal, because there are a couple time deals that are out there, it's most likely development related, where it's like, we prioritize the Xbox version, we're going to get that out first, and then we'll do PlayStation.
Right. That's not the same.
Stalker 2. Stalker 2 will be a time exclusive on Xbox, but it's also day one of Game Pass.
Exactly.
That's the main thing. Like, because to me, it's like, what was it? When games don't have that day one Game Pass, it's like, well, I guess it's like certain types of games where you see that. Like, was it like Rainbow Six Extraction? I saw that and I was like, like, this is not, like, it doesn't feel like a full price game, and so I'm like, this should be in Game Pass. No, it's not launching Game Pass. I'll wait for the sale. Or when you come to Game Pass, either one, it'll happen eventually. Especially any game that like actually requires co-op or multiplayer. But like, was it like Battlefield 2042 or whatever they called it? That one I'm interested in, but I'm like, okay, $70, I'll pay that. Like, it looks like a premium product, and in fact, it's not in Game Pass, it's fine. But like, if you're not hitting that level, if you're not able to get that high in terms of that production value or show the value of your project, I'm like, all right, it's either Game Pass or discount. You pick. I'll wait.
Like guys, I'll say this. Tell me I'm wrong. To me, if the option had been, hey, get a Plague Tale Requiem in 2022, 6 months Xbox exclusive, or it's multi-platform day one, but get on Game Pass. Man, it's Game Pass and it's not even close.
Yep.
Like,
not even close.
That's a one and done game. I'll do that and I'm good. So.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
That day one Game Pass and it's great because no matter what show we have to look forward to as far as Xbox goes, whether it's E3 or their Xbox event or anything, we know they're about to see a bunch of stuff that's day one Game Pass. And it's a beautiful thing to look forward to because I get to play all these extra games at no additional cost. I don't like using the term free. People use free. People say free and
free. It's not right. It's not right.
Yeah, it's not right. Even though in a lot of ways, with so many games you're playing, it can feel like it's free. But I'll say at no additional cost. That's a big deal, man. Unless something changes, I won't have to pay for Game Pass for the first time until September 2022, right? And I'm just like, bro, look at all these freaking games that I get to play day one, and I'm looking forward to the next event because whatever next event comes up, whatever third party game might be coming, there's a good chance it's going to be in. If it's an Xbox show, it'll be in Game Pass. I mean, the last was E3, only 3 shows, I believe, 3 games. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Fame, it's better for their shows too because it removes so much third-party filler. That's the way it needs to be. It's like, look, if there's a third-party game and it's not in Game Pass, it better be a big game.
Like Battlefield.
Like Battlefield gameplay or like the release date for Diablo 2 Resurrected. Like, okay, that's fine, but other than that, if it ain't in Game Pass, don't be there. Don't show up.
Just like when they show an indie reel, like all those indies are going to be in Game Pass. Like it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, like it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I mean, at this point, anyone who tries to deny anything Game Pass is just looking for attention at this point.
Oh, totally.
So, also, I found something that kind of exposed a lot of people. So you know that Space Jam game that came out, that was a Game Pass perk, mind you.
It's a perk.
Yeah, it's not officially. It has not released anywhere. I noticed some individuals on Twitter who wanted to rant about that game. Guys, they had to have gotten Game Pass in order to play that.
Yep.
So
that's the only way you can play it is if you download the perk. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was running at people playing. First, like, where the hell is this game in Game Pass? And I saw it in perks. I'm like, oh, all right then.
Yep.
Even though it's a stupid time filler in my opinion.
Yeah.
I still wanted to, fill some time.
Yeah. Like I played it for some easy achievements. So, but yeah, it's not good. It's very much harkens back to the bad video game movie tie-in games. So, at least that much. It reminded us of some other nostalgia from that era.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
that's what it is.
Anyway. Other than that little portion, it's a very strange game, but I want to bring that up specifically because we're talking about Game Pass. Speaking of Game Pass, I want to ask a final question before we wrap things up tonight. So E3 came and gone. I want to ask you guys. This includes the guys who are watching live or who are going to watch it later. Leave a comment for us. Do you think that E3 paid off for Microsoft? Because we've been hearing this conversation about like, E3 is irrelevant, it doesn't matter anymore, and like Sony didn't show up to E3, and there was a rumored event that was going to happen the first half of July, which is more and more looking like that's not going to be the case. We just had like an info dump all last week from Sony. We just had a big info dump. Like these are all things you would announce at a show. Well, maybe not the acquisitions, but the Ghost of Tsushima director's cut would have been one. Yeah. But the abandoned game got pushed back to August before the first trailer, so it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon for at least a show from Sony. So, but I want to ask the panel here: do you think that Microsoft still sticking in with E3 is actually paying off for them?
Can I go first on this? Because I have a hot take.
Please do.
It's paying off for them. It's not paying off for E3.
Beautiful.
It's paying off for them because people say, oh, thank God, they were the only good thing about E3. That doesn't bode well for the rest of E3 or the ESA. but it does bode well for them and speaks to the strength of their brand and their show. So that's my ride the lightning take on the situation. Take it away, Fame.
I agree 100%. Like great point, Sam. For E3, and it moved the needle, but for Microsoft, it did. Not too far after, they had a bunch of consoles get released, and you see Twitter timelines were filled with people who went and bought one. You got people who supposedly faked injuries and used GoFundMe to go get them an Xbox Series X. You got people who claim that they will never buy an Xbox in their life. Right after E3, went and bought an Xbox. And to me, that was proof enough. Even though we live in a small bubble, we see a small bubble when it comes to gaming, social media, and stuff like that. But literally, right after E3, my timeline was filled with people going to buy an Xbox. So I think for Xbox, it was definitely well worth whatever money they spent to, I guess, quote unquote, be at E3. It was a good move because it helped show off that, hey, we're here. We got a bunch of games coming. As a matter of fact, we're going to show you a bunch of new first party stuff, and not even the stuff that you know about, Hellblade and so forth, so on and so forth. We're going to show you some new stuff. On top of that, you're going to get all these games in day one of Game Pass. Oh, and you can get 3 months for $1 or whatever the case may be. So brilliant for Microsoft to show up and continue to show people, hey, we are here for the gamers. And it was like Sam said, for E3, and I had so much excitement for E3 being back. That thing's dead. But for Xbox, big. They were the number one trending topic. They were the grand poobah. They were the end all be all. They were E3, and they had all eyes on them, and it was a wonderful thing for them.
I think for me, at least in terms of did it pay off for Microsoft? I think Sam also nailed it, specifically saying it helped Microsoft and not E3, because it routinely what's been happening is that the people who are showing up to E3 are not bringing their A game, and it shows. And that might just be part of it might just be that it was the COVID in particular, but even last year, it wasn't great. And they did Summer Games Fest, and they used that as the stand-in, and that was spread out over 3 months, which was, I think we all agree, sucked. It was just,
let's never do that again. Again.
Sorry, Jeff, please don't do this again. If you're gonna do it, narrow it down to a week. At least if we're doing it to stand in, but even then, I just didn't feel like it was worth our time last year. And again, like I said, I don't think that any of these developers are really bringing their A game to this anymore, except Microsoft. And really, Microsoft's doing a favor to E3 and Jeff and the rest of them. It feels like they are the ones who actually still kind of care and are giving their a good performance in terms of what they're actually showing. So I think that it helped them, but I think specifically too, and this is more anecdotal, I guess, because when you look at people on Twitter, they do not represent the vast majority of gamers. It's just the more vocal minority. But I saw a lot of people who I didn't think would buy Xboxes suddenly buy Xboxes. For all the talk that, if I have a PC, I don't need an Xbox, they still bought an Xbox, which is really weird. And I think some people did it genuinely, and I think some people didn't. I think Fame referenced someone earlier. I think that person mainly did it so they could get the clout and do the same thing last gen everybody did was, well, I have both consoles, so I can say definitively that this the one that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they spent $500 to crap on it, essentially. So but then there are other people who actually gave a chance. I will call out one person specifically, the AP99. If you don't know who this is the guy who had that video who throwing his desk across the floor and all this stuff over Horizon Zero Dawn going to PC. He is the same guy, and
I watched Alex's video about him, and yep. I just don't believe that. I've never spoken to the guy, but I had to block him off my Twitter just because I saw that. I think with that video, I saw him destroying his office over Horizon, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't ever want him to even know that I exist.
You know what? I have spoken to him. We've talked about that
Quaker.
I'm all about rehab, man. So, but I've actually talked to him like in a party chat, and we've had a conversation about it, and like he is genuinely giving this a shot, and he's a kid. I will say that much. I'm not going to go any more specific than that. He is a kid.
Oh, it's like that's a kid.
It's a kid.
He's still gonna get this block. I don't trust it.
Relatively speaking,
wrapping things up.
So yeah, wrapping things up. I bring that up because like it's nice to see that people are willing to give things a chance if it interests them, and they're not sticking to it. And it's been nice because he's not the only one. He's just someone I wanted to give major props to for genuinely giving something a chance and just being honest with it. So I good guy. I like him. But there's other people too. I know Joey Bats has done it too. Can't think of the other guy's name right now. But there are several other people who have bought Xboxes and they're having a good time. So he's a good guy. And I like seeing when people are being honest and intentional and they're not doing things for attention. So I give anybody who gives another system a chance where they weren't going to before major props for it. So I think it's something that should be applauded. So anyway, any other thoughts before we wrap everything up, guys? Anything?
No, just that I hope that we continue to get some news over July, because July is usually a barren wasteland for news.
Yep.
And I'm hungry, so let's keep the same energy. I don't care who's bringing it, just keep the same energy.
All right. So, Fame, where can people find you, sir?
Yeah, man. I know it's been a while, but everything is the same across the board. Thanks to it's my like anchor man who likes everything to be same across the board. I'm the same across the board everywhere, Fame and T2K. But if you really want to show some love, LV1 Gaming everywhere. Yeah, we actually got something pretty cool coming that I can't wait to talk about. I think it's gonna shock a lot of people that was able to pull this off. But yes, it's gonna some fun times ahead at Level 1.
Hmm. All right, and Sam.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert. And you come check out everything I'm writing over at Windows Central. It's good to be back.
All right. And I'm Anchorman V2. You can find me on Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, Anchorman V2. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's a Multiverse Show. Getting back in the swing of things. We had a little break for a little bit. We'll see how things go. We're about to get into film summer. This is normally about the period where we start talking about blockbusters and random stuff. I know we have a couple things that are coming up, at least in terms of films. We got Space Jam coming up this month. What's
Black Widow?
Yep, Black Widow this month. There's another thing that's on HBO. What is it? It's something other than Space Jam. I can't remember what it was. Let me look it up. I can't remember what it was. It was something though, because I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be dope. Let me see.
Not HBO, but we got The Green Knight at the end of July. That'll be good. I'm really looking forward to that one. The Suicide Squad in August.
That's what it was.
Stuff.
Yeah, I knew we were getting close to it. I was like, what is it? But yeah, we got a couple things coming up, and I'm excited for those. So, I do have something larger to be announced. It's probably gonna be next week before you guys see anything about it. So stay tuned on Twitter to that. We'll be dropping hints over the next week and a half. So it's gonna be fun. Looking forward to that. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Multiverse Show, greatest show on Mondays. This has been Season 5, Episode 21, and thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week.